Welcome again, and thank you for joining us for this Vespers service. We've been doing this during this church year, and we'll continue to do it through at least May on the third Wednesday of every month at 6:30, just prior to our Wednesday night sharing circles. I'm going to start with this chalice lighting. I don't actually have a chalice with me, so I'll light an imaginary chalice with these words by Deborah Falk. A chalice is lit, no, a chalice lit in our midst is a symbol of our faith, a faith built on freedom, reason, and tolerance, a faith sustained by acts of kindness and justice, a faith that demands living lives of goodness. This tiny flame is the symbol of all this within us. Today, as we were informally chatting before the service began, was an extremely auspicious day for our country as we inaugurated a new president and vice president. It was also an historic day, as our new vice president is, of course, the first woman and first person of color to hold that office. Today is a day to celebrate as our fragile democracy, which just 2 weeks ago today seemed about to go up in flames, has a chance now to rebound, and hope and healing seem to be the bywords of the day. It's also a day to celebrate imagination, which happens to be our Soul Matters theme for this month. In order to build the kind of country that we want to inhabit, a country in which justice and compassion triumph, a country in which truth has real value and meaning, a country in which decency truly matters. In order to build such a country, we first need to be able to imagine it. My favorite moment in today's inaugural ceremony, as others have mentioned, was the reading of the poem by Amanda Gorman, who displayed, I think we can all agree, wisdom far beyond her years. The poem, titled "The Hill We Climb," addresses the fires that we have endured as a country and are still enduring. And it is also a call to imagine the country that we might yet become. I'm going to read excerpts from the poem now. This is "The Hill We Climb" by Amanda Gorman. When day comes, we ask ourselves where we can find light in this never-ending shade. The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms of notions of what just isn't always justice. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president only to find herself reciting for one. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to her in our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in the bridges we've made. Because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a forest that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. This effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith we trust. For while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be, a country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain: if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left with. Every breath from my bronze-pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the West. We will rise from the windswept Northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation, in every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge, battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new day dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. I don't know about you, but I wept as I heard Amanda Gorman recite this beautiful poem. And in that moment, I felt more hope than I have felt in a very long time. It was a call to action and imagination that reminded me of this song, which we're about to hear, Arise, Arise, which Mary and I recorded for another Vesper service last fall. This is Arise, Arise, written by Jean Rowe. Take me just a second to get to it.
Do you want to hear any of this? I can, because I forgot.
Atlantic and Pacific flow, the Great Lakes and the Gulf of Mexico, the land between sustains us all to cherish it, our tireless call. Arise, arise, I see the future in your eyes. To one more perfect union we aspire, and lift our voices from the fire. We reach these shores from many lands. We came with hungry hearts and hands. Some came by force and some by will, at the auction block or the darkened mill. Arise, arise, I see the future in your eyes. To one more perfect union we aspire, and lift our voices from the fire. We died in your fields and your factories, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees, with an old coat hanger in a room somewhere, a trail of tears and an electric chair. Arise, arise, I see the future in your eyes. To one more perfect perfect union we aspire, and lift our voices from the fire. Our great responsibility to be guardians of our liberty, till tyrants bow to the people's dreams, and justice flows like a mighty stream. Arise, arise, I see the future in your eyes. To one more perfect union we aspire, and lift our voices from the fire. Arise, arise, I see the future in your eyes. To one more perfect union we aspire, and lift our voices from the fire.
It was 28 years ago at the first Clinton inaugural that Maya Angelou delivered another remarkable poem, which read in part as follows. Lift up your faces. You have a piercing need for this bright morning dawning for you. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon this day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream. My colleague, UU Minister Reverend Ashley Horan, offers the following reflection on these words and our current situation. Today, 28 years later, these words still speak deeply to this moment. On this inauguration day, we move across a threshold that is enmeshed with deep grief and unbridled hope. I look around at our nation and my heart aches. An unmitigated pandemic that has claimed more than 400,000 lives, public and violent displays of white supremacy that has always infected the soul of our country, an economy, climate, and society safety net that are spiraling toward catastrophe, with those communities who have always been least protected or often targeted by our systems standing squarely in the path of collapse. There is unequivocally wrenching pain that cannot be unlived, not just in our history, but in our present. And yet, this inauguration day is indeed a new day breaking for us. It is a new day that we have called forth together, and one that must be nurtured together. We have work to do. If we are to build a democracy for all, center care and safety for all, create a just economy, and win real COVID-19 relief and address our healthcare and climate crises, we will have to do it together. Give birth again to the dream, Maya Angelou exhorts us. We cannot take this metaphor lightly. Giving birth is painful and messy and terrifying, and it is physically and spiritually transformative, both for the laborer and for the new life that emerges. Today, let's take a moment of pause between contractions to find joy and pride in hard work that we have done over past weeks and months and years. This is a day to take another deep breath to recoup our strength, grateful to have made it this far, and centering as we prepare for the next push. What awaits us on the other side is the new emergence of potential, of possibility, of life springing forth from within us. Let us push forward together, harnessing our radical imaginations and the power of community. This is our moment, the people's moment. Let us take a moment to ground ourselves in the dream that makes the labor worthwhile, the dream of a world in which all of us have enough resources to live with stability and access to what we need to be healthy and safe, in which we care for people and the earth over profits, in which all of us are free and able to live lives of dignity, abundance, and joy. Again, in the words of Maya Angelou, the horizon leans forward, offering you space to place new steps of change. Here on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out and into your sibling's eyes and into your neighbor's face, your country, and say simply, very simply, with hope, good morning. We're going to listen now to America the Beautiful, a song that casts an imaginative vision of the country that we yet may be. I'd like to share a little bit of background about this song that some of you may know and some of you may not. In 1893, Catherine Bates, an English professor at Wellesley College, took a train trip to Colorado Springs, Colorado, to teach a short summer school session at Colorado College. Several of the sites on her trip inspired her, and they found their way into her poem, America the Beautiful, including a World Expo in Chicago, which was the Alabaster City, the wheat fields of America's heartland in Kansas, and the majestic views of the Great Plains from high atop Pikes Peak. Bates, who lived and traveled with her life partner, Catherine Corman, for more than 25 years, had personally experienced sexist prejudice and discrimination and had witnessed the ravages of the Industrial Revolution both in America and in Britain, as well as seeing firsthand urban poverty and misery. She keenly wished for equality, and it was this desire for an inclusive brotherhood, in the words of that era, that inspired the poem America the Beautiful, which was written during the severe economic depression of 1893. The music by Samuel Ward, an Episcopalian organist and choirmaster from New Jersey, was joined with the poem in 1910 and became the most popular of several musical settings of the poem. One of the verses that is seldom sung, although we'll hear tonight, includes these words: America, America, God shed his grace on thee, till selfish gain no longer stain the banner of the free. Hold on just a second. I'll be there in a moment.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
I hope and pray as we move forward from this day, we will do so first with an act of imagination as we envision the world we dream about, and then do the hard work that is needed to bring it into being. May it be so. Amen.